Hello guys, I have just finished building my Unkillable team that can make 35 million damage on Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss on auto. This is the first time after Unkill nerf that I managed to get auto team to do this much damage. I had a team that was making 40 million damage per key, but it included Sir Nicholas and it wasn't working on auto because Sir Nicholas was doing his shield ability as priority to his Unkillable ability. I didn't know that before I booked him completely. So if you have Sir Nick, don't book him up completely. If you're lucky enough to have your Unkillable buff reduced to 4-turn cooldown and you did not reduce your shield ability, do not do it, because most likely he won't use his Unkillable in your composition. So since then I've been searching for a team, Unkillable team, that can do more damage or that can do that can get the final chest on Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss in 2 keys. And I finally did it with this composition. There is similar composition to this one, but it includes Roshar the Tower. And as we know, he's a legendary champion. So this team is what I actually consider a free-to-play team. Why? Because it requires only epic champions to work. I mean, there is a Folly in this rotation, and I can't remember if Folly is a permanent fusion or was it only for some time, but I know for sure that Raza in Stormhide, I call him Raza, is a permanent fusion and can be a free-to-play character. So in place of Folly here, you could use Raza or any other Death Down champion. Not any other, but probably in that new girl, Rachel Killer. So let's talk about this composition a little bit. I didn't record this from the beginning because I forgot to press record button, but doesn't matter. I have turn a list down there written. So after 6 turns, this is going to start to repeat from the turn 4. So in first turn you have Maneater casting his Unkillable buff, then Folly plays, then Steelskull plays with their A1 ability. Then you will have Occult Brawler, Skull Crusher, Maneater, Folly, Steelskull, Maneater again, and Boss AoE. In turn 3, you have Occult Brawler, A1, Folly, A1, Skull Crusher, A3, casting his Unkillable debuff. Steelskull, A3, casting increase defense up and heal. And Maneater, A1. Then Boss stuns on a Skull Crusher. Then on turn 4, you play with Folly, A1, Occult Brawler, A1, Maneater, A1. Steelskull now cleanses the stun from Skull Crusher. Skull Crusher plays A1, Folly A1, and Maneater casts his Unkillable with A3. In turn 5, you have A1 from everyone, and in turn 6, you have Steelskull A1, Maneater A1, Occult Brawler A1, Folly A1, Skull Crusher A3, casting his Unkillable, Maneater A1, and Steelskull his A3, healing everyone and casting increased defense. Now let's talk about this composition. Why it is important to have a Steelskull. I've been using many different Unkillable compositions before, but the bottom line is that they were either not doing 35 million damage and more, or were not working on auto. The problem with this setup is that When I was using it without Skull Crusher, without Steel Skull before, I used Bad Alcazar to get my team healed up so that they can counter-attack from their defense talents. But the problem is that when boss starts doing enough damage to reduce everyone, boss was not choosing a Skull Crusher as a primary target to stun. So he was killing my Man-Eater. Why? Because Man-Eater speed is 311 and it is almost impossible to get that speed in a lifesteal gear. So you need to... I had to make a speed set gear for him to be this fast in order to work in this setup. But that is the problem. Why? Because it is easy with Rosher the Tower, because he's casting block damage debuff, and naturally after first 2 turns your team is at 100% health before the stun turn. So he's always choosing to stun a guy with least buffs on himself. So that's gonna always be Skull Crusher. But in this setup, where you have Man-Eater, we know that Unkillable allows you to take damage. So eventually everyone will be at 0 health. And if you do not have a lifesteal gear on, like my Man-Eater didn't have, he gonna remain low on health, and that gonna trigger boss to attack him instead. So I finally found a champion that could help me with that, and that is a Steel Skull, because I noticed that boss is targeting Skull Crusher if everyone is above, I'm not sure how much, but somewhere between 10 and 20% HP level. If your champions drop below 10%, that will make a boss act differently, and he will stop attacking the Skull Crusher, even if he has only one buff on himself and everyone else have 2 or more buffs. So the buffs are not the strongest priority when it comes for boss to choose the target, but it is actually their HP level. So when they are below 10% health, he will choose to attack the target that is lowest at that moment. And that was my Man-Eater, so I needed to find a solution. Solution is in a Steel Skull, because he is healing ally teams from their HP levels. That means that everyone will be at the same 20% HP level when he heals them before the stun turn. Plus they can heal up a little bit more from their I forgot the name of that mastery, but there is a mastery, and if they have a lifesteal gear they can heal even more, making them able to counter attack after AoE attacks of the boss. So crucial for this team is to have Man-Eater, Steel Skull and Skull Crusher. The other 2 targets, the other 2 are pure DPSs. Good thing about Steel Skull is that he can be considered a DPS and a healer as well. He is casting some poisons on the target, so we will see his damage at the end. But here, for example, instead of Folly and instead of Occult Brawler, you could use Frozen Banshee and Gravechill Killer. I believe that will also make you do 35 million damage per key, and maybe even more. Depend on a gear, how good gear you have, of course. Gear that I have on these champions is not that really good. It does have a space for improvement. And this is why I'm going to prove that this composition can work without any legendaries and it can have even 2 rare champions and still do 35 plus million damage. We are soon coming to the end of this fight, and I hope I mentioned everything that was needed for you to know. You can see the speeds required above and the turn order below. So if you like the video, please subscribe. I will be making more videos like this in the future. So I'll let you enjoy till the end of the video.